And welcome everybody to the July edition of, no, June. It's not July, June edition of the West Side Computer Club. We do not have any presenters for tonight, so it's just kind of open. I've been asking members to step up and become presenters, but I have not gotten any volunteers. I am going to ask again tonight at some point for volunteers, so please step up. We need presentations to make this more engaging, if you will. We were talking about Bob is repurposing a vintage Chromebook, and he's going to strip out the Chrome OS and put in Linux Mint. I don't know which one you're going to do.
No, Xubuntu.
Okay.
Xubuntu.
Since we kind of let's kind of recap what you're going to do there, Bob.
All right. Just a moment while I finish what I am doing by way of saving a note, and then we will get into what I bought. I save meetings, CCS, West Side. Okay. In this box, which I just got today, in fact, I ran out, I was away from the keyboard a little earlier. In this box, there is a lithium polymer battery. This lithium polymer battery is for a Chromebook, I believe it's C302C. And the specs on that is it's Intel-based, Core M3 processor. So it's a fairly decent processor. And it's what you might find in a low to mid-range Windows laptop. Okay, so all Chromebooks do contain some form of write protection on their BIOS. And in my case, it's a physical screw. So I will have to take the case apart, take the back off carefully with special tools, which I have bought. And I will need to, I will want to take out the write protect screw, which is just something you unscrew. And it's well labeled. And there are videos. I have 2 YouTube videos to guide me. And then iFixit had a tutorial on how to replace the battery that's a little more complicated and more likely to cause some damage. If I don't manage to damage anything in a serious way, I'll have a fresh battery. Mine was getting down to about half, maybe even 1/3 of its capacity. So with lithium polymer, that's about time to replace it. And Google was no longer offering, as of this month, they are no longer offering me any further updates for Chrome OS. So that's why it makes sense to do this. The logical replacement for a Chromebook is not Windows, although it is possible to do that if you substitute the correct, what they call it a substitute ROM. You substitute the BIOS with another BIOS, just overwrite it. And there are well-documented ways to do this. In my case, I'm going to do it with Linux. Xubuntu is a lighter weight version of Ubuntu. It has a lightweight desktop, and that's good because the RAM is not good on a Chromebook. I have 4 gig, which is actually pretty good for a Chromebook. The storage isn't really great, and the processor is not super fast. So all of that taken together with the fact that the form of memory is eMMC, which is about as fast as a flash drive. So, you know, you do want a lightweight desktop, not too much disk activity. And so that's why Xubuntu, Linux. And I do know how to make the adaptation for the keyboard mapping, which is different on a Chromebook from a typical netbook. It's not QWERTY. And it doesn't have the right function keys.
They didn't do a QWERTY keyboard. What'd they do?
They have, actually the QWERTY part of it is the same, but all the function keys and the shift and the caps lock are different on a Chromebook from what they are on a netbook.
Mhm.
The caps lock, for example, is search. And the top keys all have to do with adjustments to the screen and adjustments to the built-in hardware instead of the Linux functions, which they have, which are much more general. There's differences in how the so-called Windows key operates. Although it isn't a Windows key on a Chromebook, obviously. There's Alt and there's Control. So all these things are different, and there is a key map that is a template in Linux that you can choose, a keyboard that is called Chromebook. It's almost right, but most people like to do a little more modification, so there's some tweaks. And those tweaks can be done in the Ubuntu. The desktop is called XFCE4, and XFCE4 has a setting for remapping a few characters on the keyboard. Just a few. If you want to do a lot, you're going to need a new key map, and that's a pain. I have actually written my own key maps on occasions, and I don't even want to get into how difficult that gets. However, there's one set of drivers for the internal hardware, including the speakers, which there isn't anything for Linux or any other operating system. It's proprietary, it's Google. Or it is Asus. I guess it's Asus, but it's for the Chromebook. And they don't make it for Linux. They don't make it for Windows. So there are some workarounds. I do have a digital audio, a digital analog converter in line, which allows me to convert the sound output through the USB-C ports. Like any netbook these days, it has two USB-C ports, one for charging, one for a dock, or for other peripherals. And the internal headphone jack does not work under Linux. At least I don't know how to work it. Maybe it'll work for somebody. Right now, Ubuntu does not have really good sound controls. It doesn't have a really good sound driver package. They're working on a new one called Pipewire. It isn't quite there yet. So maybe in a few years, I'll be able to do this with the internal. Everything else, I've already been using Ubuntu, so it works.
So
Yeah,
I took this, Bob, I'm going to cut you off on this, and I'm going to say I put into Bard how, as you can see the question, how do I reconfigure an ASUS Chromebook to run Linux? Just
yeah.
wait, see what it said. This is what it tells you you can do. Any of these steps here sound like they're full of BS?
That is the first step. Get it into developer mode.
Okay.
I've already done this. But when I take out the write protect screw, I may be faced with a fresh machine that may not do anything without booting from USB. There are two things you do once you get into developer mode. First, you replace the BIOS, and that's done through a script, a download and install script. In other words, okay, let's hang on. That Chromebook they are describing must have Crostini,
And I
because
didn't
that's
necessarily
the
put
only
in,
way that this would work. Under Crostini, that will work for a very high-end Chromebook.
okay. I mean, we could change this. This is just going through Bard, which is that's what Google's AI enhanced
Yeah,
software. And I just thought
not
I'd
bad.
put it in there to see what it came up with. So
Yeah,
we could change this and say, um, you said this is not your Chromebook, right? So what do you want to change?
wait a minute. No, this is my Chromebook, but their instructions would work if it had Crostini. This
Okay,
model does not have Crostini.
I I gotta move my thing here.
But I'll tell you what does work.
Model does not have Christine with a C.
Crostini,
Oh,
no native Linux support.
CORS.
CRO.
Oh,
You mistyped.
D
CRO.
D.
C as in Charles. ROSTINI. It's the Italian pastry. But anyway, and
Let's see what it says.
isn't going to say anything about that because it still thinks you can do it.
All right, let's see if it changed its
It
discussion.
says virtual machine now. Now it's going to go into another thing that is called, just a second. I'm trying to find the other method that is used that uses a container. Intel-based Chromebook, blah, 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 recovery disk. Okay, this article is Crostini, and their advice was Crostini. Crouton, that's the one. Crouton is the other way, and it creates a container inside of Chrome OS, but you're not actually running Linux natively. I want the full ROM replacement. And that full ROM replacement has two models, the Lewis model and the Mr. Chromebox model. I have used Mr. Chromebox because that's how people used to do Ubuntu. There was a distribution called Gallium OS, which has not been supported in a long time. So that was all done through scripts. And you did not have to remove the write protect screw. And what I've done so far does not require removing the write protect screw and does not destroy Chrome OS. But what I'm about to do is to use that very same, I believe it's the Lewis ROM replacement. Let me do a little Google and show you exactly, tell you exactly what it is. Okay. All right, there's an iFixit that has something about it. All right, Mr. Chromebox is Mr. Chromebox.tech is what it is. That's where all the install scripts are. Mr. Chromebox.tech. That place. And there are several different things you can do using a couple of scripts you get there. I enable read write. Okay, I'm going down to the install. All right. Yeah. Here's the article that most people would be interested in that shows just exactly what is involved, including removing that write protect screw. And if you want me to share the screen, I can share the screen and show people everything.
No,
Otherwise,
I think this is good. We're just kind of doing a discussion on this.
yeah.
Kind of move
If
forward.
people are getting bored, or if we just want to skim the surface,
Yeah,
that's
just
what we'll do.
skim this as a topic, okay?
Yeah. Anyway, there's one script you have to get into the root shell of Chrome OS. That's a special terminal that you open, how else, through the Chrome browser in Chrome OS in developer mode. And now you're in a terminal just like you would be in Linux or Windows, white on black. And you just simply run a so-called curl script, which downloads some stuff, and it temporarily installs it in a special place. Chromebooks have something called no exec, which means no exec means most of the directories, most of the folders, you cannot execute anything out of them. That's another safeguard. That somebody's got some feedback. There's it's Wayne. There is there's no ability to execute programs out of most of the areas of the operating system in Chrome OS. This is another protection against malicious attacks. It's another way Chromebook protects you, but it also makes it a pain in the butt to try to install anything new. So these scripts have to be run from a special location. And when they run, the first thing it does is offers you a menu in the terminal, a list of things you can do. If you don't remove the right protect screw, you cannot replace the ROM with a full ROM replacement. If you have removed the right protect screw, you should see that that is now available as an option. And so you do that. That forces a restart. Now you have a clean ROM replaced, basically a netbook.
So
And
if anyone wants to know more, they could tune in to the next Linux SIG and hear how Bob has progressed on.
Well, what you can do is go to the Make Tech Easier article. It's about a 6 or 8 minute read.
Oh, I would say
you can take a look.
We'll just tune into the next Linux SIG and hear your
your
woes.
I'm not necessarily going to do that this week because tomorrow I'm having a medical procedure. I don't know what shape I'm going to be in for a few days after that.
Oh, Linux SIG is not for.
But Linux SIG is a few weeks.
I'm just saying that'd be the place to hear more.
I don't know. I might get it done by then. I'm planning on getting it done by then, but I also have to replace my car, it turns out. So there are things going on other than computers. Sorry to take up everybody's time with all that, but somebody else got something?
Yeah, do we have more? Do we have questions for the group or topics or something people would like to talk about? Don't everyone put their hands up all at once. Okay, Tom.
Okay, it's a dumb question. It's been answered before, but I forgot what it was. When is it that Microsoft does their regular monthly updates? It's a Tuesday, but the first or second Tuesday of the month?
Second.
Thank you.
I never put in the updates when they're fresh. There have been too many reports of horror stories, and I have very specialized configurations, so I'm likely to get hit.
Is that for Windows 10 and 11?
Yeah, all Windows. However,
yes,
Windows 11 is going more and more toward rolling updates, which can happen anytime, and dribbled feature updates. They're dribbling in features, they're sprinkling them about like pepper on a salad. And you get too much pepper, you're going to sneeze. So, yeah, they're getting away from the monthly model with Windows 11. Windows 10 is still second Tuesday.
but Windows 10 is only doing security updates now, no more features.
Right.
Right.
And you can avoid some of the feature updates in Windows 11 by not taking the preview update. You don't have to take the preview update. It is optional. Any particular reason you needed to know this?
Well, yes, I was planning to have automatic backups done. And my mistake was I had it set up to do on the second Saturday. But that wouldn't work properly. It should be the third Saturday.
If you want to be after your automatic updates, yes.
Yes. My mistake, and I had to verify what I was doing wrong. So I did it fine. Thank you.
Third. And
yes.
do not do anything the final week because sometimes there's another update.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome to Windows 11.
Well, I'll never get there.
Even in Windows 10, you can get last week of the month updates.
Thank you.
Okay, new direction, new question, topic to talk about. Yes, Wayne.
I've heard that some of the HP printers have been bricked because of some firmware updates that HP has put out. Has anybody else had any experience with that?
A member of one of my other user groups did have a series 9100, not a 9200, but a 9100 that got bricked by the same kind of firmware update, even though it's not part of the same subscription model. See, what Hewlett Packard has done is they've decided it's not enough to subscribe you to their ink. Now they have to subscribe you to firmware updates that force you to replace your ink every so often on a regular schedule.
The other thing that I noticed, at least in my HP desk chat, I did not have a problem with the firmware updates. I believe there's been one that came through that might have made things go a little wonky, but I'm not sure about that because the printer just stopped working properly. You couldn't always find it on the network, and then it seemed to clear up. Anyways, what I was thinking is one of the things that HP was doing is they were changing one of the setups where you would be able to print locally directly to the printer. And what they want you to do now is they want you to set up a web portal. So you're going to print through the web and the web sends it to your printer. That's not something I'm keen to doing. I don't like that. I don't want my data to go to HP and then HP sending it back, and it kind of slows it all down. What's the purpose here? I'm resistant on that fact on what I noticed that they were doing. I think there was one update that came through last year that changed it where I had to set up a web portal to do the printing. And then I found a workaround where I just basically found the printer and sent it directly myself. Bert?
Well, I have a more modern HP printer where you effectively tell it how many copies you're willing to pay for a month as a subscription. And it's like paying for copies like a copier service, almost. They do send you the ink and all that. My particular model is a 9100, 9100, which is a 10. The people who had the 9100 or 9200 or 9120 were the ones that had the issue, not mine. So basically, you have to be connected through your router all the time for the printer to work. And, this came down to years of problems with USB connected printers. So this is a wireless printer. And being wireless, it's going through the router, and their service is monitoring each page that you do just to keep track of billing you for the ink. And then they periodically say, okay, you're getting low, and send you a box of ink. Getting supplies has never been a problem. What I have is a lot of older printers that don't have ink available anymore. You can't buy the ink anywhere. It's no longer available. And so in order to try and get over these issues, a lot of people were having problems with their printers because they bought third-party ink. And so HP said, okay, no more third-party ink. But at the same time, it's a problem. Now, the articles that talk about this automatic HP Smart subscription that gives you the ink and bills you monthly for copies is basically, it's a good service in the sense that you don't have to go search for ink anywhere because it's always available. But they'll also sell you paper if you want it as part of a add-on subscription as well. It's not let's say that everything is wireless today, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like, you don't know what they're doing with their data, there is a service as part of the HP Smart where you can add on more security to that service if you want. I'm not sure what the price of that would be for the extra security service to go with it. All in all, it prints nice, it gets the job done, and all the older printers don't work because of USB problems and non-availability of ink. So that's my story.
Okay. Well, Bert, this is all well and good. until something happens with the updates.
Well, I can
And
say the
this is
same thing
what
about
has
every
occurred.
software app that we have on our computers, and everything in the internet, from end to end. Their goal isn't to be able to make a mistake. Obviously, once in a while, in every one of our vendors, that happens.
Well, the complaints have been about the response or lack of from HP. Even after 2 weeks, no response, no update, no workaround, no way to roll back. That's the biggest problem with these printers. They don't tell you, or there may not be a way to roll back the firmware to the previous version. If you
Don't
do
you
your
have that with
BIOS,
every piece of software that exists?
if you have a BIOS in a modern computer, 99% of them will back up the BIOS before doing an update. And if anything goes wrong, they'll roll it back to the previous BIOS. And you
Well, this
have
thing is
that
talking
backup
directly
for
to the
as long as you
printer.
want it.
This is talking directly to the printer, not through your computer.
I know. The printers, however, and this is true of a lot of other devices that you may have, including your TV, if there's a bad firmware update, they may have no way to roll back. You could be permanently bricked. We don't know that this happened here, but people are getting scared.
It
And they're
also
getting
may have to
angry.
do with whether they were doing updates. That also is always an issue, that if you're not keeping up with your updates, then other things don't work.
This particular subscription model, you can't not keep up with the updates. They're forced. They're pushed, not pulled. So this was a push update. And people didn't even know the update was coming. They had no option to decline.
Well, and if their printer was on, then they didn't
Yep.
need to know.
They didn't need to know until it got bricked.
Someplace, Bob, that you clicked on somewhere and it says, we can send this stuff to you and not tell you about it. They got HP's got a whole building full of lawyers, probably.
Yeah. You signed a EULA that runs about 26 pages. That's a legal document. That's a legal contract.
That's right. So, okay, so that was an interesting point about the HP printer. No one here got bricked, which is a good thing.
Does this involve the ones that are involved with this ink service then?
That is those are the ones. It's
I don't have that.
Right.
I don't have that service and I don't plan on it. So
yeah, according to Bert, it is the 9120 and the 9200 that had the issue.
And mine's a
And
9110.
yeah. So if yours is a
Let me just
9110,
mention something, that there were articles this week about the HP printers that have to do with the ink issues. And when they give you the ink, and if you choose to discontinue their service, then the ink that they've given you no longer will work. And you have to buy all new ink for that particular printer.
Really?
Because you're no longer using their service.
well,
Wow, that's pretty bold. So in other words, so let me recap that. You subscribe to the service, you get their inks, and then all of a sudden you decide, I'm going to cancel this service. They're going to turn off your printer inks that are in your machine.
Each cartridge has a computer in it.
Yeah, well, that they all have chips. That I get. So they're going to reach out to your printer and configure it so you have to buy new ink cartridges.
When you buy the printer, it tells you all that stuff is there and your options, and it's not a surprise. It's just a surprise to people who have never bought one.
So the thing that I have a problem with on this is, one, it's extremely wasteful of a policy, and it's definitely not eco-friendly. And to me, this is from a consumer point of view, is that you're now telling somebody to throw something away that's still good. And it's,
The real problem is guessing how much you're going to use. So when I got my printer, it gave me 6 months free ink, free usage, along with the printer, which was about $250 at the time. There are printers where you can get them now as low as $85 and some free ink for a while. But so the problem is if you pay for, you're overpaying for ink, then, you know, it's not like you only pay for what you use. You say, okay, I'm going to have 100, 200, 300, 500 pages, 1,000 pages. But if you don't use that 1,000 pages, you're paying for it anyway as a subscription.
okay.
So you have to kind of guess and figure out what your needs are at the time.
But aren't you more or less prepaying or are you post-paying? In other words, are you paying in advance for what you're going to be using, or are you paying for what you did use?
It's an automatic bill, whether you use it or not,
Okay,
Prepay,
based on what you subscribe to.
prepay.
but it's a prepay. So there,
It's like my phone plan. I prepay a certain amount, and if I don't use it up, it does not roll over.
okay, but you get to use it up to that duration, that period,
Up to the duration or up to the limit.
up to the limit, which would be
There's a
the
little
end of that.
rollover period. There's some rollover that's possible. I haven't used it yet.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm not going
Well-
to pick this argument anymore. I mean, going on a soapbox here.
If you're used to being in a subscription economy, this is probably pretty good for you. For some
Especially
businesses,
if you're-
maybe it works.
Especially if you're in a business environment where you use a regular amount, it's predictable. But many of us that work out of home, it's varies based off of what's going on in our lives or based off of our work that we're doing. But
What?
I can see that model working for some people.
Well, I'll tell you, my Epson 400 model seems to be going pretty strong, and it doesn't have these strings attached, except you do have to use genuine Epson ink.
Are you using a cartridge or the EcoTank?
Cartridge, I don't print enough for EcoTank to be worth it. It would just be drying up everything.
Okay,
As it stands, my print heads get dried up frequently, so I have to clean them. That wasting. But
well,
you
that
know,
brings up
these
the question. Let's survey the group. What are we using for printers at home? Tom, what are you using for a printer at home?
Epson.
An Epson. Inkjet?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's an inkjet with
Okay.
cartridges.
And Al, what are you using?
I've got an HP 452.
A 452.
And when I tell it to print, it prints both sides, and I have no complaints with it.
Okay. Bob?
My primary printer is a Brother. I forget the model number on it. I've had it for 3 or 4 years. And I use the extended cartridge on it, and it lasts me for about 9 months. I also have a color HP inkjet 3000 something number, and I've subscribed to ink on that almost since the beginning. It used to be they charged me $2 or $3 a month. It was very nominal. I had some problems. I had a network problem that caused me that I couldn't print from my Brother. So I put more load on the color, and now it's up to $5 a month. And they bill me every month, and I can go in and I can look at what they've recorded for having printed. I don't keep any log to verify or challenge that. But I think it's an older policy than the one that you guys are talking about. I also have another HP printer in my other office in the basement that's, it's got to be 5 or 6 years old. Both the laser printers, the Brother and the HP, do two-sided, but just black and white.
Okay. Wayne,
but
did we get to Wayne?
I've got an HP Office Jet 8620. I've got a old laser jet, like a 12 or 1300, just a black and white laser. My wife has got a color laser printer, and she also has a Canon inkjet printer.
Wait, your wife has a laser printer?
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I
geez.
use it a lot. Oh, those cartridges are like 75 bucks a piece.
That they are, plus the fuser cost you bucks too, when that's gotta go. But Bob, what do you have? Oh, you told us,
Actually, it's a 4100.
41,
4100.
okay.
XP 4100.
And then Bert, I believe you said you have an HP. And is Joe, can we hear from you? What you got for a printer? Or Harry? We just got icons here, so I don't know if they're listening. Ah, Harry's there.
I've got an 8620 HP that I've had with the subscription for ink. Cost me about $4 a month. I've had it for quite a while. Thing always works when I want to. They always send me ink way plenty in time. I've got another HP printer that I buy cartridges for, and I spend less money on the 8620 than I do on the other one. And I've got a Brother laser printer that I use quite a bit. It works really well. And you're right, the laser cartridge is worth the bucks, but if you shop around a little bit, sometimes you can get a break on them.
Yeah,
So otherwise, it mostly works for what I want.
okay. And Joe gave us a response that he has an Epson. So thank you, Joe. All right, well, that was a quick little survey just to see what people are using. Yes, Bert.
You know, I was involved in the earliest laser printers with HP at the factory. Because when they started, the first time I saw a laser printer, it was $325,000. It was a big computer, and they took a box of paper on one end that had sprockets on it, and it just fed through immediately. And when you looked at the box at the other end, it was printed. And that was the thing that sort of changed the concept. And so then they went down to 20,000 and 10,000. And when they were doing 10,000, I was working with the people at the factory. I explained to them that this was really the future because we could stop using carbons. When, especially in business and we're doing tax returns, you had 6 carbons, 6 pages, and the carbons would always jam, and then you had to switch to the second page, whatever, different, change the paper constantly. So I explained that, you know, this would be a real super improvement because you could print the document, the paper, the form, and the data in it, like on a tax form. And so they finally then came out with a $2,500 laser printer. And I have all those things that I've accumulated over the years as those things grew. They also came up with magnetic ink so people could print checks through those early laser printers. And so from a business point of view, this was always, you know, a real positive thing that changed how the world worked. Then they invented inkjets, and you know, that so those became a cheaper solution. But the laser printers, I have black and white color, several different kinds of things, but keeping them up from an ink point of view is a disaster because of the cost. So basically, you know, things have changed, but the world changed because we had these new technologies.
Very true. Very true. Okay, that was a great little segue there. Shall we go on to a new topic of some kind? New direction. Bob, you got anything up your, Bob Baxter, you got something up your sleeve?
Yeah, I have too much up my sleeve.
Okay.
I've had a resource to acquire used laptops for several years, so I probably have 8 or 9 extra laptops. Most of them are running Windows 10, but in October of 25, I'll have a new challenge with that. So I'm putting Linux on some of those and trying to do other things with them. And the Linux group in our club is very pro command line. I remember when I got my first PC, I had a PC Junior, if anybody can think back that far. And it was DOS. There was no graphical user interface. And we had to learn a little bit of command line stuff. I managed a couple of Linux shops in my, the predecessor to Linux. But I was managing them, so I didn't have to learn the code. I learned a little bit about it, and so now I'm back to that point where I'm trying to fill that gap.
So how many laptops are we talking here?
Well, let's see. I bought last fall. I bought 3 version 4. I'm sorry, I'm having a mental lapse here.
It's the version 4 processor.
The Microsoft laptop, and
Surface.
Surface. Thank you. Yes, Surface. I sent one to my son who lives in this little town called Chicago, and he likes it. However, the screen wasn't working 100%. I don't know if it got damaged in shipment or whatnot. So I shipped him another one, and he's shipping that one back to him. I bought 4 Dell laptops. I bought 2 Dell desktops. I'm putting Proxmox, I think, on it. It's a server version of Linux, and trying to get my arms around that. I have an old Microsoft 2012 server that's going to bite the dust soon. So I got to find a way for
Is that a
that.
home server?
It's a Windows server.
Oh, you're running Windows Server, not Windows Home Server.
Yeah, I ran Windows Home Server, and then it went away, and I moved up to a Microsoft server.
Okay.
So,
Just so you know, I'm still running 2011 Home Server.
oh wow, yes,
It's
that was
still
cool.
rocking with 42 terabytes of storage on there. It just rocks.
42 terabytes. That's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking at moving some of that to cloud storage. I'm not convinced I want to keep doing server world.
Brings up a good conversation, cloud storage. Anyone here besides Bob that utilizes cloud storage?
To some extent, I do have a Google Drive, but I keep nothing up there that I don't have duplicated locally.
Would you, you and the other Bob, would you guys rely on cloud storage for your permanent backup or storage? Would you trust it?
I feel fairly comfortable with it. I know that there are a lot of people on these groups that really don't trust cloud storage. Yeah, my understanding is that Google Drive, the Microsoft OneDrive, they have databases all across the world. And when I write something out to one of those, it's not just down the street, it's in 3 different countries. And if one of those goes down, I have recovery on another one. At least that's what I believe. I haven't had to find that out. Google makes me a little nervous because they tend to change the rules sometimes.
Right.
And get tight about what you can do and can't do.
Yeah, it's a question of, will the vendor go away? Will they change the rules, as Bob said about Google? And will the price skyrocket? Will you be able to connect to the internet when you need the data back? I can well imagine crashes that occur that would leave you wishing you had a local copy of some things.
The
Speed is
counterpoint
also
is
an
there
issue.
are issues with the local copy as well. You know,
Yep.
my server, I am not as religious as I should be. Every quarter, I try to make a full backup of that, and I put it in a safety deposit box. And then I do routine box backups. However, if somebody should break into the house and steal it, if there's a catastrophe, flood, fire, any of those things, that stuff is gone. The safety deposit box would probably still be there. The cloud, I think, would be there. But as you say, it's faith-based.
Yeah, you have to get to the bank. You have to get to the cloud.
Bert?
Um, as far as cloud storage for backup I've always been fearful of how long will it take you to get it back. You know, having a backup is one thing, but being able to use it and get your data back in after something happened, whether that's a broken hard drive or something else, I think it's how long will it take? And obviously, if you have a terabyte of data out there, how long would it take to bring it back?
Well, the download is always going to be much faster than the upload if you have cable internet. If you have Fios, it doesn't matter because it's equal both ways. But if you don't have fiber, you're going to be able to download your data a whole lot faster than you uploaded it.
Bert brought up another point that he didn't know that he was touching on another point, and that is download data caps. Verizon, or I'm sorry, not Verizon, Comcast has instituted their 1 terabyte or whatever it is. It's a half a terabyte or something data cap on what you can download per month. So if you had, let's say, a 1.1, 2, 3 terabyte, whatever you've got out there storage, and you need to re-pull this stuff back, you're going to exceed your data cap, and they're going to start charging you significantly for going over that limit. So that would be another consideration. If your data is not very voluminous and it's not a concern, you know, you don't have a lot of videos up there, or you have just a finite number of photos, this may not be an issue. Specifically, if it's just documents like tax documents or something, which I personally would not put up in the cloud. That brings up another issue of privacy or personal security. But that's a separate conversation. But you're going to be subject to that data cap, and that's going to hit you on the download side. And I think that is an issue that the suppliers or these ISPs don't address in a diplomatic way. They just basically blow it off and say no end consumer needs that kind of download capability, and that's wrong stance to take, because there are those of us out there in the world that do have a lot of data out there, whether it could be home videos. Let's say you shoot a lot of home videos of your kids growing up and stuff. That gobbles up a lot of space, and your hard drive tanks, you want it all back. You don't want to space it out across a couple of months. You want it back.
Well, what I have is 3 copies of my backup drives. Ideally, one of those copies should be in another city, and one of those copies should be set aside while I'm using the 3rd copy. And they should be refreshed either on a rotating basis or all at the same time, but not with all 3 drives attached to the computer at the same time. In other words, just copy 1 to 1, so you'll always have one that's out there in case something goes horribly wrong. This isn't completely fail-safe, but it's pretty darn good. And I could do a little sidebar about the difference between shingled drives and conventional drives and their reliability and when and how they fail. But that would be a sidebar.
Do you categorize your backups as far as critical material, or do you just put everything in the box and throw everything out there, and when you're looking for something, you go look for it in the box?
Windows, data, I don't do a lot, so that just goes randomly into a box. But I always keep everything in folders. I'm just the kind of person who organizes and organizes and organizes. So it's always got a structure to it. which by the way can cause problems if the structure is too complex. But then if you're talking about Linux, there's an entirely different paradigm. Your user data are in one folder, just one. It's got a lot of subfolders, but it's just one folder. And you can make a compressed copy of that using any of a number of tools. And it's really simple, really fast on a modern computer. I have backed up 100 gigabytes easily of user data. And making 3 copies took, what, maybe the better part of half an hour. But I have very powerful equipment, very fast. But that's over USB 3. And again, the performance you get depends on what type of hard drive you've got in that external enclosure. Nearly all the 2.5-inch drives are shingled, and you can run into read-write errors in those. More likely than in a conventional drive. But short answer, yeah, it just about all goes into a box. It's quicker.
Okay, anyone else want to comment on this?
Oh, and one other thing, I do make system backups separately, and they go into separate partitions or ideally separate drives.
Bob, you said you made, Baxter, you said you made a transition from home server 2011 to server 2012. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and why you're giving up on that OS?
Well, the hardware I was running on was aging, so I was concerned about that. I was able to get, I knew somebody who was well connected with HP, and we got a good price on a nice little HP server that's still been ticking away. It just, the fact that the home server was going away, I wasn't comfortable. So what's the update? Do you still get security updates?
I am still getting security updates still to today. No feature
Amazing.
enhancements, but still getting security updates. They come through probably monthly, and they're seamless, do not seem to affect anything. I just noticed that the system might have rebooted for it, and I'll get a message that there was an update performed.
What browser can you use?
You mean to access it?
No, on the machine.
Oh, honestly, I don't search or do anything web-wise from that box. It just is a server. It's all it does. And if I need to go and do anything where I need to put new drivers or search for something, I'll do it externally and load it onto there and perform everything there. But I don't surf the web at all on the machine because that's a risk, if you will. When you went to 2012, did you give up automatic backups or anything?
I ran automatic backups for several of the systems that we use in the house for several years, and they died. I don't know what happened to them.
Okay.
So I use our shampoo backup on the most of the machines we use between my wife and I.
And what are you going to go to next? Oh, you said you're going to put everything up in the cloud.
Well, I'm toying with putting everything up on the cloud or building a Linux server environment.
Okay. All right, I think we covered this subject. Shall we go to a new subject? Tom Soltis, we haven't heard from you in a long time. Tonight, we're having more or less like a big open forum, discussions of any topic someone wants to go into. Would you like to bring up a subject that we could talk about?
I haven't really been into much on the computing end, just my basic stuff and as far as backup, all I do is I've got the website that I take care of for my ship, Navy ship, and I just do a straight backup. I got a USB hard drive and an external hard drive. I back up that stuff. I back up my documents, and that's basically it.
Okay.
Because if I die and go to a new machine, I'll just reload the machine and I've got my data. That's all I really need. I'm really pretty basic and simple on my computing stuff nowadays. I don't download or try stuff anymore. It's just sitting back and coasting.
Coasting. Okay. Well, again, we're just kind of going through any topics that people might have too. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a problem with something. Is there some topic you'd like us to discuss or an interest you have in something?
Not really that I could think of at the moment.
Okay. If you think of something, please raise your hand. Jim Freeberg,
Will do.
you. And Jim's being quiet. All right. So, Jim,
I'm sort of awake.
you're sorry. I'm trying not to put you to sleep there, Jim. You got anything you want to comment or
I
direction?
have a couple of pictures I'll show you.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen.
Get this set up here the way I want it. Where'd they go? Was something here. Oh, wrong picture. Hang on.
Okay.
Oops, I lost it. Hey, why don't you go ahead and I'll get it set up and
Okay.
when I'm ready.
Well, I don't know which direction we're gonna head next, other than we could go into some AI software and tell it to do something. We could try to do a chat on software. And if anyone's interested, just go in a direction on that. Maybe, how about this? We could do, let me pull up Bard and let's see. I did ask it for Al. I did ask it what plane was going to be replacing the C-130. And let's see if I still have that. Oh, I kind of lost that here. Let me ask it again. What plane is going to replace C-130 for the Air? Is that for the Air Force or Army, Al? Well, we'll just see what it comes up with. Let's see. Lockheed Martin LMXT, Globemaster 3, or the CX-17. Ooh, those look like jets. Well, that was just a sidebar. Al, are you catching any of this, or am I? Okay. All right. So, let's.
Don't know which plane is replacing the C-130.
Yeah, I put it into Bard. Bard is Google's adaptation of ChatGPT, and it's experimental. It's a conversational based, so you can just continually ask more questions, and it'll build up upon itself. Kind of nice thing. I don't know who in the group has played around with the AI software, but I found that the more I use it, the more it's more like you can naturally ask a question and progressively dig into it to find an answer you're looking for. So let's say tonight let's build a computer, a personal computer. All right, so let's build a computer. And we want, I want it to run, what? Windows 11. I need lots of storage. I need and memory. So let's see how it's coming along with this. Well, it's telling us to get 32 gigs of RAM, yada, yada. And what else? We want, oh, okay. I want this to cost less than, give me a dollar amount, gentlemen.
$500.
Oh, are you serious, Tom?
I'm just curious. I was curious to what. Yes, I know it's ridiculous, but I'm curious to see what it was going to say.
$500. Okay, $500. Okay. And the next thing we need is provide a shopping list. Let's see what it comes up with. Sure, here's a shopping list. For less than $500, we got an i3. It came up with a motherboard. An MSI. I like MSI motherboards. Another $100. 8 gigs of RAM for 50. Storage for 50. Wow, and a fractal case too. Well, we were able to do it here. And it gave you an actual shopping list that divides the components you can get with the price. I don't know where they're getting their prices from. Somewhere.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Well, you know, probably if you click on wherever it's, I don't know where it's getting its prices. And they're saying approximately.
It's showing Amazon.com on those things.
Okay.
So if you click on that, it's going to show whatever that part is.
Let's see. I'll click on this power supply. You're right. That was an Amazon. And yeah, Amazon. One's from Amazon. Looks like a fan. Amazon from some other company. Yep, most of it's from Amazon except for the graphics card. Notebook something would be the company for that one.
Okay. Now, to pretty much crush your heart, ChatGPT only knows up through 2021.
This is chat. This is Bard. This
Bard doesn't know much more.
Okay, well,
Bard is based on an engine that only knows through 2021.
Okay,
but they've put Google search on top of it.
Right, because Bard is not connected. I'm sorry, ChatGPT is not connected to the internet. Okay, for doing things like this, searching for prices and stuff. It doesn't know what's going on at Amazon. So there's a limitation there. Bard is connected to the internet and can pull in this data.
The trouble is, it pulls in from Google search, and the paid stuff shows up first and most frequently. And Amazon does a lot of paying.
Sure.
So tech enthusiasts would probably be laughing up their sleeve at this listing.
If you're a tech enthusiast, you don't need to ask Bard or ChatGPT on what components to go and use to build a PC. This
Yeah.
is just an experiment that I thought we'd go through as just let's see what this does and see what it puts together for us.
Well, it also says do your research, and it says don't be afraid to ask for help. There are plenty of people who are willing to help you build a computer.
Right.
That's certainly true in this group.
Right. Very true.
So it's not wrong about that.
I don't know, in this group, how many people here have played around with ChatGPT or Bard? Anybody? Okay, so we've got, okay, so those that haven't, what has prevented you from doing this? What is the resistance? Is it you don't want to, you don't think it's worth your time? You don't see a value because Google does it just fine? Anybody?
I guess for me, Google has been fine, and I haven't been that curious about it. I hear all the detractions about it too, so I'm also a little leery about it.
Detractions, yes, there are negative aspects to a lot of software. This is relatively new stuff, but it is growing very fast, and the incorporation has been kept up. People are incorporating it into their lives. I see that there's reasons to test this out. As in the case, Tom, where you're managing a website, you have text in that website that somebody wrote, right? You would take that text, and if you want to refresh it, have it come up with new language to say the same thing. ChatGPT or Bard would be a good place to put it into. You would tell it as simply as rewrite the following information, and then you paste it in there. Let it do its thing, and it'll come back with you all new dialogue or a new rewrite of what you have. And it may change just phonically, it may change some of the words, it'll make things actually sound a little better, especially because this is a language-based scenario on ChatGPT. So I found that as a good tool, not necessarily your last stop, but it would be a good tool. Look at what it did, evaluate it. Do I like what it did? Do I not like what it did?
No, you got an interesting point there. In my case, these are guys who have been on the ship, and they have wrote a story of what their experience was at that particular time in that. And I would have to go back to them and say, do you like this or not? I couldn't just go there and change it myself.
No, and totally get what you're doing. In that particular case, it would be you're rewriting somebody else's dialogue, somebody else's story. I wouldn't suggest it from that. I wouldn't do it from that point. But if it was something that you generated, or it could be something that's a little more ambiguous, or not those stories, but it could be factual information, and it could go and double check how you presented it. I don't know, I'm just fishing here.
Yeah, except that you're talking to the guy that can't type worth a lick, and he doesn't put any stories out at all.
So, here, let's go to your website.
I'm a cut and paste man.
Okay, well, that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what I do, is cut and paste with this. So give me your website.
USSFrankKnox.com.
Frank
Knox. K-N-O-X.
Right?
K-N-O-X.
Oh, you're not seeing what I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you were seeing what I'm doing. K-N-O-X. Bear with me. And I should be, let me share my screen so you see what I'm typing, and you could tell me, Sanford, you're just doing this all wrong. So, okay, FrankKnox.com.
FrankKnox.com.
U.S. Frank. See if it comes up. There we go. All right. So
That's it.
at this. And we're going to take your very first paragraph here. And I just copied it. Can you see this Bard screen?
No.
Okay, let me change where I got to share the right screen then. Bear with me, please. There you go. Now you're back on Bard. All right, so now what I did is I'm going to tell it to rewrite, paste, enter. Now let's see what it does. I'm just giving you an example of what it could do. And you could reread this, see if this works for you. If it doesn't, oh, it gave you a couple of scenarios. What is it? Do you kind of see what's going on here, Tom?
Yeah, you got what, 5 different ways of changing it to.
Exactly. And you could just look through and say, okay, I like this sentence. I like this word, or I like how they rewrote that. And I just picked the first paragraph. I'm not saying you need to rewrite anything. This is just,
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to show you what it can do. And many people think, as you were thinking, I don't need this. I know, people wrote their own, they're doing this. This may help, especially when you got writer's block, or you can't figure out the punctuation correctly. This may help you on there. So let's go back to that site and we'll find something else. I'm trying to find something in here. Oh, we got recipes too.
While we're searching for something else to do, I have posted in chat a link to a site that has ChatGPT 4 clones and variants, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all free to use.
They're all free.
They're all free to use. And they are generated as part of an open source project, which is trying to see what can you do with these things?
Okay.
How can you make variations on them? And some of them are quite humorous because they take an interesting slant on anything you submit.
So now I'm taking this other paragraph here, starting out with author Lionel Price, CDR. And I'm going to maybe throw this in. I don't know if this is going to be a good one or not. Let's see what Bard does with this one. Right. Space. V. Enter. All right, Tom, this is what I got. I'm not expecting you to read it and make any determination here, Tom. I'm just trying to illustrate this is what you could do if you wanted to put a new, fresh look on some of your stuff. It may help.
It's something I'll look at.
Yeah, it's something you could look at.
I work with another guy who is actually the editor, and he's the one who's writing the stories. I tell you, it's really great because he goes after the guys and tries, to get their stories, and it's not always easy.
Okay. Yeah,
But,
this gave you a lot.
Yeah, this was quite a story here. This book here, this ship ran aground there, and it was it was quite a story and how it got on the rocks.
Right.
Yeah.
The ship went from 64 being ship of the year to 65 being knocks on the rocks.
Okay. Um,
Hmm.
so my purpose here was to illustrate there's reasons to try to use the software in, I'm not necessarily saying our everyday lives, but in some aspects of our life, in our lives. And this is one of them. When you have to write something, whether it creatively or contextually, this can help you write it or rewrite it. So let's say you're really poor at writing information, but you have the statistics, you have all the guts. You put it into something like ChatGPT or Bard, and which do not necessarily have to be current in their information. It could this will work just great for that purpose.
Yeah, Bard
Good.
does tend to be more current.
Yeah,
Does tend to be more current.
right.
Yeah, next month. Go
Yes.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say next month, gonna be putting together another newsletter. And when I talk with Steve and he puts them in, I'll actually try this and see how he likes it.
Yeah, whether it's ChatGPT and Bard, you both have to, in both cases, you need to create an account. Very simple to do, but I have both. My wife has used ChatGPT in her real estate work. Once I showed her how to use this thing, she was in it almost every day using it to write things like listing information on houses. How she says, for instance, a real estate agent, they write a paragraph describing a house. Well, after you've done about 100 of these, you get burned out because it all starts sounding the same. Lovely home, beautiful cul-de-sac, spacious rooms, all that stuff sounds like garbage. But what she did is she put down what she wanted to say and then put it in the ChatGPT and had it rewrite it. And she did it several times and then found the one she really liked. And that's what she posted and put into the MLS. So as a tool, it was very helpful. And I'll say for my wife to pick up something and want to engage and use something new like this, oh my God, this is like fireworks. So
Yeah. By the
Yeah.
way,
yes,
if you don't want to set up an account, if you don't want to have to sign up or even identify yourself, I put in chat a site that has literally dozens of ChatGPT 4 clones that have been created as various open source projects. And you can just try them out and see which ones you like, which ones you don't. Some are snarky, some are political, some are leaning one way, some lean the other way. Others try to do a straight job. And a couple of them claim to be the genuine ChatGPT 4. So here's what I did. I asked the 4 that said they were genuine ChatGPT 4, are you the real ChatGPT 4? One of them said, yeah, I am. The other one said, more honestly, no, I'm not the ChatGPT 4. I'm based on ChatGPT 4, and it gave me a rundown of how it was built. So the developer had actually programmed it to tell you something about how it was put together, and that let me know that that one probably would give more honest answers than the other one. And it's really weird comparing these different manifestations of the same AI. But what I'm saying is these are free and they give answers that are ChatGPT 4, which may be almost as good as Bard. It may not be quite as up to date as Bard, but it's pretty good on many things. Now, here's why I used it. Somebody sent me in an email an emoji. It looked like a smiley face emoji, except that in the middle of it was a great big upward pointing carrot character. And I didn't know what this was. I looked on Google and it didn't know what this was. I looked on the emoji sites, they didn't know what this was. So I asked one of these GPT-4 clones, what does this emoji mean? And it said immediately what the various possibilities were. The main thing was it's a variant on the emoji, which indicates somebody with either a Pinocchio nose or just a big nose. Turns out this came from a fellow who does have a big nose. And I asked him, is that what you meant? And he says, yeah, that's what I meant. And I showed him the whole chat GPT. And he says, wow, you had to go through all that to figure out that.
Yeah, well,
So now I said, oh, fine. And then I sent back the same emoji because I don't have the world's smallest nose either. So yeah, these are useful for obscure things or very modern things or very youth-oriented things if you use the right ChatGPT implementation. And what's great about this particular site is you can choose from hundreds of them, and some are from young developers who will include this sort of stuff.
all right, so now this is ChatGPT. And I took Tom, the paragraph from Tom's website, one of the ones, and I posted it in here and told it to rewrite it. That's all I told it to do. And it gave me this kind of response. So this may be more in tune to what you're looking for. It may not be. I have not created an opinion of Bard versus ChatGPT, but since ChatGPT was the first, I guess I'm inclined to lean onto that one for textual information. That is something like this, where I'm rewriting something. But it's just an opinion, which has no basis on anything, but it sure like how it looks. Tom, play with it. I did create an account with to get into ChatGPT, which was basically log in with my Google account, created a login from there, and it was pretty easy. The same thing I did for when my wife wanted to use it. I just had her sign in with Google, so this way she doesn't have to worry about passwords or anything. It just takes her right on in, and she could do this. So for what it's worth, gentlemen, I found it very advantageous. Look, it gave you a lot of paragraph options here. So, Tom, have at it. I do. ChatGPT is at chat.openai.com for anyone that doesn't know how to get there. It's not a www. It's a chat.openai.com.
You could put that in chat.
Oh, I could. Let me do that. Okay.
Pair it up with my freebie.
Control C and chat. Control V. There you go. And what is Bard's? Bard is Control C. And that will go here. V. There you go. And if you just setting up an account is pretty easy. Yeah, some people may not want to affiliate themselves with this. I was a little hesitant, but there really doesn't seem to be any nefarious things. I'd be leery or worried about some of the freebies that Bob had found under the pretense.
This is an open source site.
Okay.
And it is legitimate. It is offered free, not so they can collect anything on you. It's open free because people are experimenting with it. You can even download your own ChatGPT 4 and modify it.
Okay.
The whole purpose is to allow you to experiment with it. And these are just examples that people have posted.
Which is the other important thing to learn about this is use these as a tool, not as an end all, but a tool to see if it will. Oh, Jim's gave us a link. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm reading what Jim wrote there. So we have a how to build your own ChatGPT. Oh, not something I ever wanted to do. I'm not a writer, but I guess
it's about 2 hours long if you want to see how it's done step by step.
Oh, so Jim, you're going to go and try this out and let us know next month?
No, not really. No way.
You can download from this open source site something that's fairly modular that you can just plug in. And then if you know how, you can do some modifications, but you can use it as is. So
Right.
it's a self-contained module. And then people have built complete projects on top of it.
How about this new subject? The new subject.
Okay,
All right.
so
So, yes, Jim.
I got my pictures organized.
Yes. Okay. You want to share?
All right. So not at last, I think it was at the TIPS meeting. I talked about living next to Jerry Sass and his house being
Oh, right. That's right. His house got struck by lightning.
struck by lightning. So this is a picture of the side of the house and the chimney, and
Holy,
hopefully you can see it.
make it full screen
Let's see here.
to the right. Oh, there you go. Wow.
So
that really,
the bricks came, most of the bricks came toward my house. So my son took this picture standing about 5 or 10 feet to the left of our air conditioner, and maybe 15 feet from the closest bricks.
wow.
There was another chunk that went through this tree here on the to the right of the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Another bunch of bricks went into that tree, hit the various limbs of the tree, and got spread around Jerry's backyard. So it was quite an interesting thing. Let's see, I got to get back here to.
Looks like the whole top of the chimney's gone.
Well, I'm going to show you if I can get this to work. Close up of the chimney.
Holy,
So there were originally, as far as I can tell, there were 2 tile runs through here. One that was the
water stuff.
furnace. One was a furnace. One was the fireplace, and then there was a run of 4-inch metal duct that was the chimney for the hot water heater.
Hot water heater.
The thing about this picture that amazes me the most is it looks like somebody took a knife or a meat cleaver and just hacked down. And on the left side, there are like 3 parts. On the right side, there are like two strips, just right down through the middle of the bricks.
Well, you know, most of that damage is done by acting on whatever moisture content there is in the material.
That's what my son said.
Most of the moisture is going to be on the outer ranks of the bricks. So it does make sense that that would have exploded first and worst. Also,
Yeah.
the air inside would have blown outward.
Yep.
Don't forget, you're talking about really high temperatures that lightning reaches.
And let's see. So on the top of the chimney, there was one of these concrete top blocks, and the concrete top block wound up in 3 parts. This is one piece, and then there's a piece here on the right and another piece here on the left. These 2 are pretty close together. The other one's about 15 or 18 feet away from these 2. So that got pretty demolished. You can see all some of the bricks a little closer. And then the other interesting part, where's that picture? Where are we here? Oh, that's not it. Box. Here it is. Okay. So this is at the base of the chimney and the air conditioner. And this box here is Jerry's internet connection. And the wire comes in at the bottom right here, goes up through the box, out, back into the box. There's a, I'll call it a lightning arrestor or a surge protector here. And the one in my box has written on it 6 kilovolts. So it was rated at 6 kilovolts. You can almost see on this piece that comes out here that the insulation's damaged here and the insulation is damaged up here. And then there was a splitter in here, and then it went back out and into the house down this way. So they had to replace all of this stuff. They also ran a new wire from this box out to the box at the back of the yard. And in the box at the back of the yard, the module that he was connected into was totally melted, and they had to replace that module also. And I think they didn't tell me, but I think they actually came to my house and a couple of other houses and replaced these surge protectors in our house. Because when I look at my box, let's see, this one here. Down at the bottom, there are some nice cobwebs and everything, but this surge protector looks like brand new. So I don't know. Anyway, that's the story. So for oh crap, Sanford, I think you've probably met Fran Sass, Jerry's wife.
Yeah, I've been to their house a couple of times already, prior and post Jerry's.
Well, she is living in a extended stay residence right now because they found some cracks in the inside bedrooms and even in the front wall of the stucco. And they've had a construction, an engineer out to take a look at it. There's a fear that they may have to replace or rebuild the wall that the chimney was in.
Holy moly.
So
I think they should just buy the house out from her and she can go and move and retire somewhere else. Move to where her son is at in Peoria, or something like that.
Yeah.
well, unfortunately, the son who is not in Peoria would actually like to keep the house in the family. So he would like to see the house rebuilt, but you know, who knows what's going to happen.
If memory serves me correct, the room on the other side of that wall where the fireplace is, Jerry had a very extensive miniature Matchbox car collection.
As far as what Fran said was the stuff in the room right next to it, there were a couple of pictures or something that fell off a wall, but the whole, like the collection and a whole bunch of other stuff that you would have thought might have fallen, nothing else fell. There were only a couple of small pieces of stuff that fell.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Some people might say that house showed itself to be haunted.
may very well be.
I'm a skeptical person about that sort of thing.
So anyway, that's the story.
But it's nothing that a couple of lightning rods might not have prevented.
Well, and a really good grounding mechanism, I think.
Yeah, but a direct hit, even lightning rods aren't going to help.
Not gonna, and getting hit once doesn't protect you.
Nope.
My chimney in Naperville, when I had the house there, got hit twice by lightning. So,
Well, maybe the powers that be up there just don't like you.
You're probably right. Or my wife was having a discussion. Next time, will you aim a little more towards that direction and hit him? But
Oh, well, something for confession.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Jim, for sharing those pictures with us. Really appreciate that. And boy, that's something.
It
So
really is.
they're still working, or they're still assessing what they're going to do with this?
Say again?
Are they working on it already, or are they assessing what they got to do?
They're still assessing what they have to do. There was a bricklayer who came out today to get a couple of bricks to try to match the color. There have been several people out there looking at various pieces. The other interesting tidbit that I'll tell you, and this is one that Bob will probably have a thought on. The night that this thing happened, when the fire department came and went into the house with Fran, there was water dripping out of the ceiling in her kitchen. Turns out that the two bathrooms on the second floor are both over the kitchen. So they turned off the water. Then, like a week or so after, week to 2 weeks after, they had two different people come back. They turned the water on. They made some holes in various places, but they couldn't find the water leak.
Huh.
So we're still not sure what the story is with the water. That's the other reason that Fran is not back in the house, is they're still trying to figure out what exactly was leaking that night, and now somehow has managed to heal itself.
And is insurance paying for her to stay at this extended stay?
Yeah, the
Who
insurance
does
is
she have?
paying for
Do you know
it.
what company she has as a carrier?
She has the same one I do, State Farm.
State Farm. Okay. Very good to know. And
Okay.
State Farm had taken care of your issues, right, at your house?
Well,
already?
unfortunately, my loss to this point is less than my deductible. So it's all on me.
It's all on you. I feel your pain because that happened to me both one of the two times.
As for plumbing, there can be some very subtle causes of leaks.
Yeah.
You really have to have a thorough inspection once something happens.
And
Could
I'm
have been
sure
copper
she's
pipe. Could have been copper pipe, and some of the solder could have melted.
Yeah.
very, very true. And it is copper piping that's used in those houses there at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's not PVC, that's probably copper.
They don't use PVC, they use PEX.
Yeah, PEX.
PEX.
Either way.
I tell you, it's surprising. Now, I've been watching a bunch of these programs about house, rehab and that, or in this case, like a disaster hits. And you could have the best inspection ever, but if you don't rip them walls out, you just don't know.
You just don't know. You can see it and follow it and check it. Even putting a little camera up there helps, but it doesn't. Something different when you open it all up and can see it.
Yep.
Well, at least you're not as unlucky. They're not as unlucky as the people who find bees inside their walls.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I got a story about a best friend of mine. His kid had in high school, they had a little band thing going. So they were in the basement. And he's got this long 100-foot extension cord that they were plugging into. And they finished, turned off all the equipment, but they just had the cord just laying over this futon. And they came home a little while later, and the house was filled with smoke. That futon had, the heat from that extension cord, because they had kept it coiled, it wasn't like pulled out straight. Most of it was still coiled, and it heats up. Even though everything's turned off, it heated up, started that futon. They had to strip that house down to the studs.
Wow.
Replaced everything, kitchen included. because that smoke, it gets in everything and they can't totally scrub it. They got all new furniture, even clothes.
Hmm.
And they say it's 7 months in an extended stay.
Hope they got a new computer out of this too, right?
I don't know.
We have
This
to
is
keep
this is back.
we
This
have
is
to
back
keep
in
the
97.
subjects here on computers, Tom. So, so okay, let's go on to a new direction. Anybody else got something that would like us to discuss or cover tonight? All right, I am looking for presenters for the remainder of this year for any month. We have nobody, and I don't want the group to rely on me. Would anyone like to do a presentation and just pick whatever month you would like to do it? Don't everybody jump in at once.
I am not offering.
Okay, all right.
Just a
not gonna-
comment.
I'm not gonna, go ahead.
I know that CCS is a member of the Association of PC User Groups,
Yes.
and they have quite a speakers bureau, and they have a whole lot of YouTube videos. At some of our meetings, we will play some of their Wednesday shows go 2 hours, so we will use one of two pieces of that. And it can be very informative if you're really desperate.
Okay.
Do good
And
work.
we may wind up going that route. I would like to have this group run itself.
I
and be
understand that.
self-generating, but if, which was the resistance, I didn't incorporate something like that this month. I was hoping somebody would come up with something, and Wayne did not want to do anything. He's telling me he's done.
I did it last fall.
Yeah, that's right. You did got rid of your e-car, and that's
Yeah.
so I guess next month let's see. That's July, and there is no West Side meeting in July, so that will be out. It'll be August will be the next month. We'll have a meeting, and if we don't have any presenters, then we'll bring in stuff from APCUG and see if we could get something from there to present to the group. Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or anything they'd like to throw in for tonight? With that, I will stop the recording and